Okay, here's my real deal, little deal I should say, the real deal, on how this guy got screwed deep and hard. If you're watching this video, that means you got referred to it from other video, but if you found this video first, I'll have to link that video in this video to go back to it. But it's a WAV file that I found online, oh god, 10 years ago or something. I was looking up something. I don't even know what it was. Computer gaffes and AOL, America Offline, the World Wide Wait, and all this kind of other stuff. So, anyway, the guy's cussing up a storm because 2 years of work on his Canon, I think he said, laptop was erased by tech support, who, when he gave them the laptop to work on, they said, oh, we might have to replace the motherboard, but we'll leave the hard drive intact. Okay. I don't even know where to start with some of this. I worked as a technician, in-house technician at the Gateway Country Stores 20 years ago, about a little over that. And I dealt with Circuit City, which was nightmarish. I kept bringing back my computer for the exact same problem. I was on Windows 95, one of the early releases of it. I think there was like 3 versions of it. Or the alpha, beta, and an unofficial C version. It had like a 95 plus and 95 something or whatever that was unofficially called the C version of 95, I think, or something like that. The schluck, screw up, jerk off that is at the desk might be making minimum wage or something. They're not the person working on the computer, so they're making promises that they can't keep because they're not even the schluck that's working on your machine. And they pay them less because the technicians know what kind of computer junk. They make $12, $14 an hour. They're not going to answer the phone and deal with customers all day and spend 45 minutes punching up a ticket and listen to the customer drone on and on. So it didn't make financial sense to do that. I think they call that passing the buck or something, but this is another type of expression for something else, I guess, maybe, or it amounts to the same thing, kind of. So they couldn't care less. You know, they have a dirty job. If it's your irreplaceable grandmother Smith only photo copy that you somehow copied onto the computer and you lost the original print, that's the only, they don't give a damn. Or maybe some do, but they're not really, there's nothing to ensure that they do. So it's like playing Russian roulette. They might give a damn, but there's nothing guaranteed they give a damn. So then they'll take a gigantic spiel and they got to type it all into the ticket. So they always give the shortened version. It's always some nightmarish thing. Or sometimes even the customer doesn't even know what's going on. And one of my favorite scenarios is, it's pathetic. It's like I don't know, some people don't like admitting they don't know something or they get fixated on something. Well, the customer who knows nothing about computers, they don't even get the terminology right, the functionality right. If it has sound problems, they'll say it's the monitor, because some monitors come with speakers on them or whatever. So they'll say that the technician will take that as, this is an old practice before this rule got put into place. They'll take it as gospel, and they'll only look at the sound problems or the monitor problems or whatever, and it was really the sound or vice versa, something, and they're all confused and everything. If they even got to the bottom of it, or they had to give it back to them broken, saying we checked the sound, and there's nothing wrong with it, but it's really the monitor all along, or something like along those lines, or whatever kind of weird, the modem versus the sound card or whatever, because the customer doesn't know what the hell they're talking about. So it became a policy at Gateway. It doesn't matter what the customer says, because a lot of times the customers are idiots. They don't want to admit they're wrong. They want to boldly push forward like they know what the problem is. They never opened the computer in their life. So you have to ignore what they say, or at least keep it in mind, and troubleshoot all the things, which is more time consuming. Then I had a woman who was right about the problem she had with the computer, and I explained to her it took longer because we had to go through this forced rigmarole because too many customers falsely diagnose their own systems, and the tech actually gives the customer some credit, which you're never supposed to do, and she got mad at me for that, so you can't win. So anyway, there was on the movie Breach, which is a real life story when an FBI agent was selling secrets to the Russians or something. And a technician, in a scenario involving technicians, the rookie FBI agent was along that guy who was like a senior FBI agent or whatever you want to call it, was starting to lay the networking cable or something, and he said, well, why don't we wait till the technicians to do that or whatever. He says, oh, yeah, have a technician who makes $15 an hour to have completely unrestricted access to a computer that contains information that's worth millions on the black market. That's smart. So it's kind of sad and you have to be cynical like that. 'Cause you'll have a millionaire who's still doing ethical things. But anyway, so you basically have techs that might be making $14 an hour, at least 20 years ago, and that kind of stuff, screwing with information that is worth way more money than they could ever pay back. And for the ones that do give a damn in the first place. And then there's nightmare scenarios where I've seen on complaints from techs that they'll tell the customer in plain, snot-faced English, can we reformat your hard drive? They don't even know what that means, reformat your hard drive. You might as well say, can I block your aorta if you want? Yeah, go ahead. And no, listen, all your data on the computer that you have, that you personally put on there, will be erased. It'll be like the day it came out of the factory with nothing of yours on it. Yeah, go ahead. No, you're saying yes too fast. You're not listening to me. Listen. So they tell them 5 times in plain English, yeah, go ahead. So they reformat the computer, and the customer, which is usually you give it back to the computer for them to take home, but apparently this is like an in-house call or something. So the customer logs onto the computer, it's just been reformatted. He goes in his directory. Hey, where's my pictures? People like that need to be slapped. But anyway, so this poor guy complaining in this call, and this was, I'm sure this was from like 20 years ago. Now it's 2022. This is probably from the 90s or the mid-90s or something, so more than 20 years ago, maybe 25 years ago. I don't know if he made huge files that were too big to put on a floppy. That was before CD burners were really affordable and all kind of stuff. They have utilities that take large files and break them to about 1.5 meg, or no, less than a half, because I think it's unformatted is 1.44, formatted is 1.39. It's basically put on a floppy, so you like 1.3 or 1 meg, period. Just cut it off, and you could break apart your gigantic files as like 10 megs over, just let me. Okay, and this is you do a meg a piece. Okay, 10 floppies, right? I don't know why the guy did that. Maybe the guy was too trusting. Maybe it wasn't feasible, or whatever it was. People, you never trust total strangers. That the schluck you're talking to that's swearing up and down, oh, we're not going to touch the hard drive. They can't guarantee that. They're not even a schluck working on the computer. They've been trained to say that, to just go in with the cut. It's disgusting. Okay, so this moron is swearing up and down that something that they can't guarantee because they're not the schluck working on your computer. So they're pushing something. How that Top Gun quote goes: your ego is making checks that your body can't cash, or however he said it. It was Mr. Strickland from Back to the Future, that guy, with Tom Cruise. So that was one huge thing. And besides, even if you're not going to ship off your computer to get repaired, hard drives are volatile as magnetic data. Now that's going to be phased out more and more with solid state, but even then, it's I have to do some reading up on it. I'm a tech, but certified tech. But as far as the engineering aspect, I'm fuzzy in the details about the solid state. If enough strong enough magnetization or power by it or near it or something can wipe it or corrupt it or something like that. I think I have somewhere in the back of my head. I was told that fluorescent bulbs, if they're strong enough by a computer, can wipe your floppy or something. But I don't remember that. I'll have to look that up anyway, or whatever it is. It's not physically etched like the M-Disk, and TDK used to have one. The M-Disk is supposed to last 1,000 years. TDK had one with a blue surface. They're supposed to last 100 years, but TDK they don't make CD burners anymore. That's like over 20 years ago. It has to be physically etched for it to be, doesn't corrupt internally. The normal burners we're used to use is dye, and they're only known to last 5 years without some growing chance of ultimate corruption. And I've had normal discs up burned with 12 years old, and they worked fine. But I keep good care of mine. I take good care of mine. Anyway, so never store, not only not on just your hard drive, because volatile means that can get corrupted, that can just die in itself. Then you have to pay an engineer $18,000 a second to crack it open to get that. You better have the cure for cancer on that sucker, because it won't be worth it. And then do it in multiple drives in multiple places. This was before CD burners were a thing, but this is some outdated information. So use your doggone CD burner and get the M disk, and you have to have an M disk capable burner. If you have data that important, store a copy in a safety deposit box at a bank. Get a post office box and store it in there. Treat it as a safety deposit box. Store one copy at somebody you trust, your friend's house, something like that. A fire might burn your house down. Burglars might steal your computer, trying to get some online porn or something, or your deep dark secrets or whatever. You never know what can happen. Never store your data in just one place. Never store it on only volatile media, or if you have it in multiple batches of floppies or multiple spare hard drives or external hard drives, if you have about a dozen of them, then it's less likely all of them are going to fail as opposed to one of them. That old country saying, don't put all your eggs in one basket. If you trip and fall and break all your eggs, everything's going in one basket, you know. And I never trust the schlucks in tech support. Never trust them. Back up your stuff aggressively. These days, and I don't know what they do for something like that, unless you get it in writing or something. You have to sign a waiver saying you don't have anything that money can't replace. But this guy got screwed. The rage in his voice it reminds me of me, a poor little schluck trying to do something with long-term plans with a pile of work on a computer that, and he got screwed by some unscrupulous or dishonest or incompetent tech support. So those are a lot of the mistakes that were made. All right.